So this is part 3 of using supplements with common sense. Before I get into the subject matter, I would like to try to brag a little bit. Lately my training has taken a back seat simply because of some things that I'm dealing with at work and some projects around the house. It just takes up all my time. But recently I took my family to go see the Statue of Liberty, and while we were on the ferry, there are actually these handrails that are on the ceiling that people obviously use to hold on to, and I decided, let me see if I can do a one-arm pull-up, and I was able to accomplish a one-arm pull-up. And then my daughter asked me to do it a second time, and this is her recording me of doing a one-arm pull-up. And at the time of me doing this video, I'm 49 years old, so I was so impressed with myself that I decided to kind of like use this as a playful opportunity with the kids to see what else I can do. So then we proceeded to go to the island, where I decided to do some other things to play around, and here I am planking off of the rail in the island. And what was funny is that my daughter actually thought that I was going to go overboard, and she kind of started to freak out a little bit. But then the rest of the day I was just playing with the kids, you know, just kind of like showing off a little bit of what dad can do. And you know, I'm not bragging like if I'm doing something that's out of this world, because I'll tell you, once we got off the island and we get off the boat, there were these guys putting on a street show of just some amazing feats that they were doing of just like gymnastics, and it kind of like, you know, really puts you in your place. But these guys were young, they were muscular, they were ripped, and man, they were just really impressive. And I remember being young, muscular, and ripped. Wait a minute, I was never young, muscular, and ripped. Now, the reason why I say all of this is because, you know, we do have to give ourselves some credit sometimes, and you need to give yourself some credit for the hard work that you do as well. As we train, and the longer that we train, we start establishing a foundation of strength, of stamina, of endurance, etc. And what we want to do is establish that foundation, and we want to be able to have that foundation build upon itself as we get older. And part of building that strong foundation and growing foundation is obviously making the right decisions. And that's why I'm making this video, to share with you what has worked for me. Now you should know from my previous video that supplementing with branched chain amino acids is actually a bad idea, and there are better and smarter ways around that. You see, I was buying into what the supplement companies were always marketing, and that is that you need a pre-workout, and you need an intra-workout, and you need a post-workout. Then the obvious occurred that I was just never drinking water, and so it actually ended up being counterproductive because my body was fighting dehydration. So as a result, all I drink for an intra-workout is just water. Now, what I'm going to be talking about in this particular video is post-workout nutrition, specifically what I use in my post-workout shake. Now, obviously the first on my list is whey protein. Now, as I'm going to be talking a lot more about whey protein, like I've stated in other videos, if you have a good plant-based protein with a good amino acid profile, it'll work just as fine. Now, I'll use both in my nutrition, both a whey protein and a plant-based protein, and the reason for that is because I feel that my fitness nutrition is probably more balanced that way, as opposed to just relying on a protein supplement that's derived from animal products alone. Now, usually what I start to look for is for a protein supplement with a high protein yield. I'll actually put a link in the description box below on one of my previous videos on how I actually go about estimating a protein yield for a protein supplement. There's actually research out there suggesting that when taking protein immediately after exercise, that there may actually be some anabolic benefits to that. There is also some other research suggesting that this may be especially true with older men. Hello. Now, am I suggesting that there is an anabolic window of opportunity? I personally feel that that's just a marketing ploy and that there's no such thing. Anabolic meaning muscle growth or hypertrophy that when taken during certain periods of time will give you more of an anabolic effect. Don't believe that crap. It's not true, and that's a topic for another video, and it's a debatable one. There is also some research out there suggesting that when using whey protein in combination with 21 grams of carbohydrates, that can actually stimulate a rise in muscle protein synthesis after a heavy workout. It's interesting to see that in this study, the carbohydrate source that they are referring to is actually fructose. Fructose is obviously found in fruit. That's why I always use fruit in my post-workout shake. Why on earth would you want to just keep putting chemicals into your body when God has given you everything you need in this green earth to accomplish your goals? Now, in regards to how much protein to take after your workout, there's some research out there suggesting that older adults who supplemented with 20 grams of protein after a workout saw some positive effects on muscle protein synthesis, but to a greater extent with 40 grams of whey protein. Now, here's how I prepare my post-workout shake. Now, bear in mind that usually when I'm coming out of a workout, I'm coming out of a workout in a fasted state, so I'm really interested in getting nutrients quickly into my body. I'll usually start with 1 to 1.5 frozen bananas. Now, one banana will probably give you right there about 21 to 27 grams of carbohydrates. Now, for my fast digesting carbs, I'll usually have about 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. Now, this is all natural. This is not Aunt Jemima or anything like that, and surprisingly, maple syrup has a small amount of antioxidants in them. I'll go ahead and I'll fill that up with almond milk, and then I will go ahead and add my either whey protein isolate or my plant-based protein supplement to that. Now, some other things that you may want to add on top of all of that is also some blueberries and raspberries. I also like to add some frozen spinach. And now what you've added are some extra antioxidants to your post-workout shake. And also some of these ingredients have anti-inflammatory properties in there. Now let me explain that. If you're in the gym and you're doing a set of heavy leg presses and you feel some inflammation in your thighs, we kind of want that, right? We want that muscle pump. However, if you start to feel some sort of discomfort or inflammation in your knees, that's not a good thing. And some of these ingredients may help us with that. And last on my list is creatine. Now, there's been so much research done on creatine that there's really no need for me to get into the details of all the benefits of creatine. What I will do is I will put a link in the description box below of an article written by Mike Matthews of Legion Athletics and the creator of Muscle for Life, which has some really great information on the benefits of creatine. The only thing I'm going to talk about in this video is how I use creatine, because you can have a good product, but knowing how to use that product to the fullest extent where it benefits you the most is another issue. Now, you should know by now that supplements are not necessary in order to achieve your goals. They may give you an extra push, they may enhance your performance a little bit, and they may give you that extra edge. But if somebody were to ask me if I can pick out a performance-enhancing supplement that comes close to almost being a must-have in your training regime, it would definitely be creatine. So I'm only going to talk about 4 things in regards to creatine. The first one is that I consider creatine to be more of a post-workout supplement than a pre-workout supplement. I still don't really understand what the rationale is behind these supplement companies that put creatine in their pre-workout formula. And the reason for that is because creatine needs to be in your system already for a while. So you need to be supplementing with creatine at least for a few weeks until you actually start feeling the results of creatine. It just doesn't happen like, you take it with a pre-workout formula, you take some creatine, and boom, your ATP stores are up to a level where you're going to really feel it in your workout. It really doesn't matter at what point of the day you take creatine. It doesn't matter if you take it pre-workout, post-workout, or whenever in the day, but there is research out there that suggests that taking creatine as a post-workout is better than taking it as a pre-workout. If you look at this study done by the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, it talks about how taking creatine immediately after your workout is better than actually taking it before your workout. This other study suggests that taking creatine post-exercise will lead lead to greater gains in lean tissue mass as well. The other reason why I feel that taking creatine post-workout is much better is because there's research out there that suggests that taking creatine in combination with protein and carbohydrates leads to an increase in muscular retention of creatine. So during my post-workout, what I usually do is I have my protein shake and I'll have a scoop of 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. I'll go ahead and I'll pop the creatine and I'll start drinking my shake. Now, having said that, I personally feel you should not be grabbing a protein supplement that already has creatine included in it. Now, the reason why I say that is because when you look at a supplement label of a protein supplement, you're going to see something that says 30 grams of protein. However, if that supplement already has creatine included in there, it's going to affect the nitrogen balance. In other words, if you see 30 grams of protein listed on the supplement label, you don't know how much of that is actual protein or how much of that is actually coming from the creatine. And I can tell you this much, protein is a lot more important than creatine. All I want in my protein supplement is protein. Leave the rest up to me. Now, the other point that I wanted to make is that pre-workout supplements usually contain caffeine. There has been a study in the past suggesting that caffeine may inhibit the effects of creatine, not the other way around. It doesn't seem like creatine has an effect on caffeine. The bottom line, though, is that there needs to be more research done on this particular subject. There's just not a lot to go on when in regards to caffeine affecting creatine. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but for me, I like to kind of like stay on the safe side, and I just don't mix the two. So I may or may not include caffeine in my pre-workout. I'll go ahead and I will work out, and then during my post-workout shake, that's when I usually take my creatine. The last point I want to make is that it really doesn't matter what kind of creatine you use. The only thing I would suggest to you is don't buy a product that is underdosed. In the beginning, when I was inexperienced and didn't know much, I used to buy pre-workout supplements that contained creatine in there, and the salespeople would tell me, oh, listen, this has creatine, so you're all set. And bottom line, it only had maybe like 1.5 grams of creatine monohydrate. When supplementing with creatine monohydrate, you really should be supplementing with anywhere between 3 to 5 grams. I supplement with creatine monohydrate at 5 grams per dose. Now, I'm not familiar with all forms of creatine out there, but that usually seems to be the norm, anywhere between 3 to 5 grams. I know that when supplementing with creatine hydrochloride, that the minimum dose you should be supplementing with is 1.5 grams. So the bottom line is, regardless of what type of creatine you use, you should be checking how much you're getting with each dose and try to avoid those creatine supplements that actually underdose their products. Now, if creatine monohydrate upsets your stomach, some other options could be creatine hydrochloride or Crealkaline. They usually tend to be less acidic. The only problem with that is you're going to be paying anywhere between 3 to 5 times the cost of creatine monohydrate. Now, in bringing this to a close, that's about it. That's my supplement stack from pre-workout to post-workout. And someone may ask, well, is that really all you use? And yeah, I mean, that's everything that I feel that I need. What else do you need? The only other supplement that I haven't touched upon is beta-alanine, and I used to take beta-alanine, and it's actually a really good product, but I feel that creatine already does enough for me and my particular goals. There's a lot of other great supplements out there that I haven't really talked about, but I hope that I was able to give you some useful information. And I will conclude by saying this, that some supplements may work for some people sometimes, but good diet and nutrition works for all people, all of the time, every time. See you at the next video. This by far has to be the biggest supplement scam known to man. I mean, I don't even think that testosterone boosting supplements can come close to this one.